All right, let's go ahead and get started. We are here at the top of the hour, and it looks like we do have a few people attending. And hopefully, as usual, usually the longer the time goes, the more people start to join in and can ask questions through our chat and Q&A feature. Claire, if you wouldn't mind, can you turn on your camera? Hopefully that's not a problem. Oh, she's unable to. All right. Oh, there she is. Okay, great.
Oh, sorry, guys.
That's all right. Great. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for giving me some time today. I have tried to assemble a broad, diverse panel of current college students to talk to you this evening. And as you have questions that come up, don't wait for any end of time. I'll just be checking the chat and the Q&A feature, and I'll ask as things pop up. But let's do a quick brief introduction. Let's cover the basics so that way people who are watching or watching later can know who you are, where you're from, what your major is, what year you're in. And then if you want to provide any other like extracurricular activities you're involved in or whatnot, just so they can maybe direct questions to specifics. Obviously, I don't think it's going to work out to ask each question of each person just from the sake of time. So we'll try to streamline that just a little bit. But I'll start. My name's Jennifer, and I'm just really the moderator and facilitator of this. I work for NACAP, who host college fairs, about 150 of those a year. Obviously, with COVID, we've had to switch that format to virtual. And so this webinar is a part of a series of webinars we've done over the past few months just to educate and reach out to kids looking to go to college and their parents, of course. And obviously, we're specifically focused on Christian colleges and what those opportunities open up for these high school students and their families as they're going through this journey. They may be freshmen, they may be seniors, they may have already decided, they may have so many decisions yet to come. So everybody's different in that search journey, but we want to try to address a lot of these questions the best we can in the next hour that we have. So let's start with Emily. If you want to do a brief introduction, we'll just go around the table here.
Yeah, my name's Emily. I go to Multnomah University in Portland, Oregon. I'm a senior in the youth ministry and church leadership program, and then I'll be starting seminary next year. Some extracurricular stuff I do is I volunteer in my church with the youth group, and I also play Ultimate Frisbee.
Excellent. Nick.
Hi, yes, my name is Nick, and I'm a junior at William Jessup University, which is in Rockland, California. And I'm a history major, and some of the extracurriculars that I've been involved with here at Jessup have been the Student Ambassador Program, our student government for a year, and currently I work in our admissions office. As you can see, it's kind of busy and noisy back here. So yeah.
Excellent. Annika?
Hi, my name is Annika. I'm a senior at Cairn University, which is just outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So as you can see, it's snowing quite a lot here. Some things, so I'm a secondary English education major, and I'm also studying TESOL, and I'm a visual arts minor as well. So I can speak to like an art program potentially. I also work as a student ambassador through the admissions program at my school. And I teach English here to adults in the community, and I'm captain of the women's cross country team.
Excellent. Brody.
Hi, I'm Brody. I go to Huntington University in Indiana. Speaking of snow, we also got some of that. I think we got like 8 inches. So it is piled high out there right now, and it's freezing cold. I am a sophomore this year, and I'm a film production major here at Huntington. One of our standout things about our university is our digital media arts program. But extracurricular wise, I'm not a minor or anything like that, but love participating in our theater productions, musical theater and plays. I work in admissions. I'm a campus ministry coordinator. a CMC, which is a fun, awesome, super cool position that we have here at Huntington. And I enjoy some basketball intramurals from time to time. So
Excellent. Claire.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claire Fingerlin. I am from South Carolina and attend Bluefield College here in Bluefield, Virginia, which is right on the Virginia-West Virginia line. I am a sophomore here and a graphic communications major. I am on the women's volleyball team and also work in admissions as a student counselor.
Excellent. Excellent. So just starting out, let's just do a show of hands. How many of you are at least somewhat in person in class right now? Okay, is anyone completely online? I think I saw all 5 hands. No one's completely online, no virtual. Okay, excellent. So that's great news, right? I mean, let's talk about that. I mean, how many of your friends from high school or whatever are at large public universities who probably still are either stuck in a residence hall or even potentially stuck at home, right? And doing everything virtually. And to me, I was talking to Emily before we got started this evening. To me, that's a huge benefit of going to a smaller private Christian college, is that you have that opportunity to pivot a lot faster, right? When the world kind of slowed way down last March, and of course that varies across the country, and we do have, I think, all 4 corners of the country represented here tonight. So no matter what the weather is doing, where we're all at. What is the weather like there, Nick? Well, I mean, you're down in Southern California. What's the weather like down there?
Oh, it's actually Northern California.
Oh, you're in Northern California.
Like 15 minutes north of Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
But it's nice. It's only like, since winter has started, we've only had like 4 or 5 days of rain. Other than that, it's been like 65 degrees and sunny. It's kind of the blessing of I'm local too. I'm fairly local. I grew up like 45 minutes away from here, so we always just have warm weather, which is nice, but we pay for it too at the same time.
Sure. But hey, California weather, even Oregon is no snow right now, right? I mean, you've got some pretty mild temperatures year round, right, Emily?
Yeah, lots of rain. What Oregon's known for is lots of rain. We had like a little bit of snow, but it melted within 5 minutes. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, Brody and I, we have about 8 inches outside today, and it looks like Annika's probably gonna get what we had yesterday today. So I'm not sure how much of it is still gonna pile up for you, but yeah. So again, we have I think all 4 corners and everywhere in between represented today. So again, I think it's a good mix. And like I said, we got some seniors, we got sophomore, we have some fine arts majors. So I think we've got a good mix. So hopefully we have some questions come in regarding to that. So let's talk about, so how far from home are each of you? Let's raise hands. Who's relatively close to home? Okay. Brody, you're over in Ohio, right? So kind of next door.
Yeah, I'm about like an hour and 25 minutes away.
Okay.
So like, it's drivable on the weekend, but it's also not like 20 minutes away.
Right. Claire, Annika, how far are you guys from home?
I am 5 hours away from my home in New York.
Okay.
I am 4.5, and I'm
Okay.
lucky if I'll make it in 4.5.
Sure. So how often do you guys get home being that far?
I guess I'm sorry. Yeah, I usually probably like Thanksgiving and Christmas mostly like in the fall, and then usually like spring break, sometimes Easter. So it's nice because like it can be done in a day, but it doesn't happen like very often.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. During the fall, of course, we have volleyball season, so I'm not really able to go home a lot. And with COVID this year, I was not able to go home at all unless we played a team back home. But besides that, I'm the same kind of for major holidays, spring breaks, maybe in the spring. If it was under normal circumstances, maybe a weekend every now and then, but fairly the same.
Well, I mean, I think that's the good balance though, right? You're close enough if you have to, but you're far enough that you don't have to, or it's a good excuse, right? Those of you that are close to home, Emily, Nick, and Brody, do you guys get home much, even though it's a little more convenient? Emily?
I'd say I go visit home maybe like once a month, see my folks and tell them how I'm doing, but around once a month. And my home's about 30 minutes from campus.
Brody?
Yeah, my initial goal is always once a month, and then it never ends up happening. But I usually try to find, just being really busy, like being involved in especially like musical theater and that kind of thing, singing group on campus, stuff like that. Sometimes includes weekends and stuff like that when you have the opportunity normally to get home. So I usually have like a stretch where I get real busy and I can't make it back. But yeah, I would say I usually ends up going home like once every couple months instead of once a month. But I try to carve out time so I can go see my family.
Nick, how often do you get home?
I go home a little more often than that, probably 2, maybe 3 times a month, about 45 minutes away from home. And so, and that's a factor of why I chose to come to Jessup, because it was close to my house. And just grew up in a really tight-knit family. And I can be away if I need to be, but you know, I appreciate going home and being able to do laundry on the weekends. So it's nice.
Well, as the mother of a college student, I want to remind you all to at least call home frequently, even if you don't get home. As a mother, that I feel it my duty to remind you of that, although I'm sure your own mothers remind you of that as well. Let's talk about the factors of what made you guys decide to go to the school you're at. So I want you to just briefly talk about maybe one other choice, like, you know, think back to your high school senior year and as you were getting ready to decide the one you're at, and then maybe the first runner up, you know, what was kind of the final tipping point, or what were some of the factors, you know, maybe the top 1 or 2 things, and what ultimately then swayed you to go to the one you chose. So again, I think I'll ask each of you this. So Emily?
Yeah, so I got to see Multnomah when I was like a junior in high school. We went to a youth fun weekend thing that Multnomah threw, and so I really got to see how the school was run. They let us sit in on some classes that professors were teaching that Friday, and was blown away by the professors. So that kind of also helped me figure out that Multnomah was the top one. And then what kind of stood Multnomah out from the other colleges that I was considering that were up at the top of my list was Multnomah was cheaper, which is a big factor. And also they had a program that combined your bachelor's and your master's together that would put you out in 5 years with both degrees. And they had one that I wanted, which was the youth ministry and church leadership. So decided to do that. And then I also came in as a transfer student from a community college, and they accepted my associate's degree cleanly. So I didn't have to do any gen eds, which were all really nice and set Multnomah above everybody else for me.
Excellent. Nick?
So I knew going out of high school, I wanted to go to Christian college, obviously. And so, you know, today we have a pretty diverse range of Christian colleges. Some are big, some are small. Jessup's more on the small side. We have about 1,200 undergrads here, I believe. And so I really wanted a place where I could go and get some interaction with some of the faculty, even if it wasn't in general ed, but at least for my major specific classes. And I believe that's what I'm getting here. I'm in my 2nd semester of my junior year, and just really loving learning. History major, really loving it right now. And so that's what separated it for me from a lot of the other colleges that I was looking at.
Annika?
Yeah, so I was looking at a bunch of the Christian colleges in New York when I was a senior, so just a lot that were closer to home. But what I really liked about Cairn, after I found it at a college fair, a super small college fair, kind of out of the blue, was the proximity of it to Philadelphia. We're like 5 minutes away from a train station, and you can be in Philly like in an hour. It's like 20 minutes by car. So it's like right there. So all the opportunities in that way. A lot of the schools I was looking at in New York were kind of like out in the middle of nowhere. So not a lot of opportunities for like internships or practicums or even just like kind of community service type stuff. And then another thing that really drew me was just like travel opportunities and service opportunities. So actually my freshman year when I came to Karen, I actually got to study abroad in Italy for 2 weeks at the end of my art program. I met missionaries here that I served in China with a couple summers ago for 5 weeks. So this just like a lot of opportunities kind of like seem to present themselves on campus here.
Excellent. Claire.
So for me, I chose Bluefield College strictly for my major at first. Coming from South Carolina, you have big universities, Clemson, University of South Carolina, College of Charleston, and Clemson University has a really great graphic comm program. However, I wanted to broaden my search, I guess you could say, and I actually just typed in on Google what colleges in the Southeast had graphic communications, because I knew I didn't want to go too far home. I wanted to kind of stay close where I could, drive a day and a half and be home in case, anything happened, just for, practicality. And I found Bluefield and I applied. I saw they had volleyball. They played at a level where I thought I could do really well in. And so I spoke with the coach, got a campus visit up here. And it wasn't until I got to see just the beautiful mountains here and got a sense of the college life that I really knew that I would fit in well here. And I was actually on a tour and bumped into one of the professors that I was able to sit in a class on later on in the day. And he knew my name. He knew I was coming. He knew what class I was going to be a part of. And that to me was really great because I wanted people to know my name when I go to college. Like, the bigger universities, you're a number. The teachers' assistants will take over the class and teach sometimes. And I really wanted to be known and have the opportunity to kind of stand out and work well in this environment.
Excellent. Brody.
Yeah, I think I had an interesting college search because I wanted to go to a Christian university, but I also wanted to major in film production. So there's not a lot of those floating around out there. So for me, and I also, a lot like Claire, I didn't want to be like a 2-day trip away from home. Practically, I was like maybe looking at like a 4 or 5 hour like cap, So that automatically limited my options quite a bit and drew me into only just about maybe like 4 options or something like that. So it really narrowed it down quick. So that was helpful. But then they were all really great. So then you have to think about the other things. But one of the things that I loved about Huntington was the admissions team, the people there. Huntington ended up being the most affordable to me, but it wasn't necessarily because they didn't necessarily start that way. But they seemed like they wanted me there more than other universities did. When we would talk to them about financial help, I'd hear a lot of like, this is what we've got, like kind of a take it or leave it situation. With Huntington, it was more of like, we want you here. Let's keep looking until we can find enough. We'd be like, this is kind of the number we want to reach. And they were like, let's keep going. So my admissions counselor was absolutely awesome. And I appreciated that so much. And I felt them wanting me to come. And they also did. When I got there, they knew my name. They knew what I was interested in, all that stuff. Another reason was when I went on my visit, I got to meet with my professors, kind of like Emily was talking about. I was very impressed by the people I met, the heads of the department. And I had met other heads of departments and I thought they were good, but there was something about Huntington, the people here, and they have been awesome. They've lived up to that first impression that I had. And I almost feel like I'm friends with them and know them well. And that's another thing is I appreciated Huntington's size and that they're not a big giant college. They're small. In fact, I think our average class size is like 15 or something like that. So you're going to know your professor and you're going to know your classmates. And that's an important thing to me, mostly because I want to know the people around me because I like to interact with people. and I love people. So if I'm in a classroom and I know everybody, I'm going to have a much better time. And also I like having that relationship with my professor, and I think I do better educationally with that. So yeah, I mean, I guess for me it was, they stood out already as a Christian university that had a film program, but they also made it financially the best option. They were the closest. They ended up being the closest, and I liked the heads of the department better than any other place I visited. And yeah, there was an atmosphere that I liked when I visited, which is, if we're giving any advice, it's like visit. If you're thinking about it, go check it out, because that's always part of the deciding factor. It's not like you're gonna walk on campus and be like, I'm home. I think it's probably a little dramatic, but you do kind of get a sense of like, I think I could exist here. I think I could belong here. And I felt homey when I was on campus, and everybody was really nice, very kind and receptive and everything like that. So
I think you guys have articulated very well that the feeling isn't necessarily as strong as some might think it is, right? Like you do sense a feeling of home, you do make connections kind of more instantly and maybe at different levels. But I think it is important for the audience that's watching from home that you are looking for those. And to be honest, those are one of the few things that the personal visits gain you, right? And a few of you work in admissions and really can relate to and understand that. But I do want, I think, high school students to understand that it's not going to be like the parting of this, clouds and the sun comes out and, all of a sudden everything glows and just basically says, this is where you're meant to be. And I mean, I think for maybe some people that can be like that, but I think for most people, it's not that obvious, and it's not that, just obvious. And I think it's important that people do pay attention to the littler things that are probably speaking maybe just as loudly, but maybe not as in your face. You brought up a couple of really interesting points, and I was making some notes as you guys were speaking. Who else has studied abroad? Anyone? Just one, okay. Because I think that's another opportunity that obviously any college does offer that, but maybe the smaller the campus, the more intimate that group can be, right? And those can be your lifelong like friendships that you make, both from the group of your school, and then obviously connections of a lifetime. You all mentioned that the in-person visit is a key to understanding what that school offers you. Is there any school of the five of you that I couldn't visit next week, right? I mean, because with COVID and travel restrictions and all that, can I visit each of your schools right now? A show of hands if I could not. Okay, so Emily, I could not visit Multnomah right now because of COVID?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so what would your recommendation be? Because you're not I'm only speaking to 5 different schools, and obviously there are hundreds in this realm, thousands, when we look at the broader picture. But so that's obviously going to vary by state and from a bunch of other things. So what would your recommendation be if I wanted to learn more, but I can't go there right now?
Yeah, good question. For us, what we've been doing in our admissions office with Multnomah is doing a lot of kind of like this big webinars where we'll have student panels come on and talk to people. We'll have our coaches from athletics come on and do that as well. Also look around. I know for Multnomah, we've done a virtual tour where you can still feel like you're on a tour, but you're not in person here. But our counselors do a really good job of highlighting the same places that I highlight on tours, and big places that you want to go to as a student. But yeah, look for recordings like this on our website. I'm sure lots of other colleges are doing that too. That way you can still kind of feel like you're on campus, but at a safe distance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think social media, I think following all the schools on social media and And especially I love takeover days, right? Where you give the social media account to real students, much like what we're doing today. And I think that's a great way to get a sense and a feeling of kind of what they do and how they do it. And but to be quite honest, you know, we probably have a graduating senior class right now that high probability that the first time they step foot on campus may be when they're moving in, you know, and that's kind of an odd thing to think about for certain schools. But, you know, it is the world we're living in right now, and it's probably the safest thing, you know, in a lot of regards. So let's talk quickly about cost. How would you guys address the cost of your education, the cost of a private Christian college, especially in comparison to a public institution? You know, I would like for anyone, and if you have a thought, raise your hand and we'll just kind of go around, because maybe not everybody wants to speak to this, but obviously that is a huge concern, you know, for a lot of people. And I just want to get your thoughts on how you, I guess, overcame that objection. Oh, excellent. Annika, let's start with you.
So I really resonated with you, Brody, when you were talking about how your counselor just like kept going back and finding more. Like anytime you came and you were like, I don't know if this is quite enough. Like, I really want to be here. And the school was very much, Cairn University was like, you are a good fit for us. Like, we want you here. Not just like, this is the school that you want because of this and this and this. It was like, you belong here. And so the counselors would just go and dig through any kind of scholarships that they could find that were applicable, if it had something to do with interests or grades or somebody in my family or anything like that. They also showed me a lot of resources where I could look for scholarships outside of school. And I know a lot of these people also work on campus. So there's tons of opportunities for students to work on our campus too. So you can be making money while you're a student here, and teachers are very understanding of that, like scheduling wise. I know my school, you can even get some like ministry credit for that. So like the Christian community service that my school requires as well.
Excellent. Claire?
Yeah, I completely agree. I am a twin, and so I know a lot of college students either have one or several other siblings in college, and trying to pay for that is very stressful on your family, on yourself. Bluefield College actually is really great about scholarships. I was able to receive both an athletic and an academic scholarship, which is the reason why I'm here today. I definitely wouldn't, I don't think, be able to afford a private institution, especially so far away from home, if it weren't for the scholarships I was receiving. And working in admissions, you know, a lot of us are able to see so many sides to how the cost works, and the importance of applying to as many outside scholarships as well, because that's just more money to that student. But for sure, for me, was the scholarships that I was able to receive to be able to come here. And just me personally wanting gas money and, you know, groceries, to buy groceries and all that kind of stuff. And I'm even thinking about you know, like where I want to go for my master's, and I've got to start saving up for that. And so that's one of the reasons why I have this job right now as a student counselor, is to really just financially look at my kind of student loans, or my financial state, and see what practically would work for me, and what do I need to start preparing for now. Because it's not only, you know, while you're in school you're taking out loans or you get a job, it's, you know, do I have student loans after the fact? Do I want to pursue an additional master's degree or go on to doctorates? Whichever it may be, I think that's really important for students and for families to decide where to go to college based off of what your goals are and how to best achieve them.
Did anyone else? Oh, go ahead, Brody.
Yeah, I'll say I almost just as an encouragement, but it is. I mean, obviously, you think about a private college, Christian college, and you realize that one of the first things you look at is like, it's going to be expensive. But I come from a family where both of my parents worked at a small Christian high school, so we weren't rolling in it. It's almost like they were missionaries. You know what I mean? That's the kind of checks they were getting. So it's possible, and that's the cool thing. But I think it does take inquiring, finding out what scholarships they have available, hopefully having a nice admissions team that you can work very closely alongside and ask questions and learn and find out what it takes. It's a good motivator to work hard while you're in high school, so that you can earn scholarships and things like that. And I wouldn't be able to go here if I didn't have those scholarships and those things. But also, if you feel like God is asking you to go to a Christian university, to go to a private institution, He's going to provide. If you feel led and called there, I mean, I can even talk a really cool story really fast that happened to me.
Absolutely, go ahead.
So literally this semester, I was going to have to take out some loans, and I was like, don't want to, but I just don't quite have it. I'm close, but I don't quite have enough this semester. And over Christmas break, I think even maybe during J term, I don't know if you guys do that, but we had a J term, and someone gave me an envelope with my name on it. There was they didn't say I didn't know who it was from. It was someone gave it to me anonymously. There was no note inside. There was nothing. And it was 10 $100 bills stacked up $1,000 and gave me what I needed to get through this semester. And I still don't know who it's from. Someone does, and they didn't tell me. I guess they wanted to remain anonymous. I wrote them a thank you note, but it's just one of those things where like God will take care of you. If He's calling you somewhere, He's not gonna call you there if He's not gonna take care of it for you. So sometimes it might be a little bit of a faith step, but that was just something really cool that happened to me really recently, and I thought it was super applicable to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And getting jobs on campus and stuff like that, like that's a huge way to help out. Like I know several of us said we were working in admissions, and even the CMC position that I have, they like surprised us this year and said like, hey, guess what, we're paying you. And we didn't go into the interview process and all that stuff knowing that was going to be the case. So you'll find ways, and it's possible.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So just a quick show of hands, without sharing details, is anyone concerned about long-term debt from their college education? Okay. So Claire, you do have some concerns that you might have, but is that more because of the grad school and the compounding, or you're talking about undergrad?
Some with undergrad. I am very fortunate to have the scholarships that I have and to have a family who supports me, but that doesn't mean that I'm not taking out student loans and that my family's not taking out loans to help provide for myself. And so that's a little concerning, and I like to think ahead of the game almost. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, if I graduate with an undergrad, I go get my master's. I've got to pay for my master's and all of that kind of stuff. Then at what age will I be entering the workforce to where I can start providing for myself and paying that debt back? And so I like to think kind of on, that wavelength to where, how is this going to work out? And what do I need to do now to prepare for the future? And, what do I not need to be putting time like towards stuff that's not going to help me in the future and not going to help me grow to where I can be successful and I can do the things that I want to do and accomplish the goals that I have for myself. So on the basis of finances and stuff and for money, I think that it is a concern, but I think it's just something that's just a part of, going to college, paying for college, and that just kind of comes with it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many of you plan on going to grad school right after undergrad? Okay. So 2 of the 5. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about what your biggest surprise was. And I know some of you are now in your 4th year or more. So you have to think back to your freshman year and those very first few months adjusting to college life. But you are talking to an audience of high school students and their parents. And if they're, most likely their parents have not gone to college in quite some time, myself included. So can you think back just to whether it was last year or a few years ago, what was the biggest difference between high school and college? Somebody want to start? Nick.
Yeah, I'll start. I remember I'm a junior now. I remember being a freshman, and like the first night that I was in the dorms, I asked my RA if I could go off campus, my residence assistant. And he's like, dude, yeah, like you're an adult, like you don't need to stay here. And then, from there, it's kind of like you have all this freedom. And you're self-employed really in college. You are self-employed and you have to be self-motivated. Like no one's going to tell you to do your homework. No one's going to motivate you. You have to be motivated to do your homework. And you really do got to develop your own structure and system of doing things. And that was the biggest learning lesson my first year, I think, was trying to develop structure without, parents being there, without an authority figure being there every day to tell you that. So, yeah, I just think the biggest shift from high school to college is definitely, for me, it was the difference in the amount of freedom I had and liberty I had to do what I wanted and do what I needed. So.
And just a quick follow-up for you specifically, did you feel the RAs and maybe even some of the professors or whomever were there to at least help guide you or provide some amount of, I mean, they didn't just throw you in the deep end of the pool?
Oh, no. No, of course not. Like, I mean, you do get some people checking in on you and making sure that you're doing okay, of course. And I'm super thankful for that. But, at the end of the day, it's up to you to do your homework, and it's up to you to get to class on time and to get to bed on time. And so it is a bit more of a challenge in high school, in my opinion.
Excellent. Anybody else want to weigh in on the biggest change? Emily?
Yeah, I agree with Nick a lot. It's adulting all of a sudden, and you have to take care of yourself and manage your money. I know at Multnomah we have a coffee shop on campus, and my first week here, I spent all the money I had at the coffee shop and was like, oh, I have to learn how to budget now, which you kind of learn in high school, but it's kind of it was a bigger shock for me as a freshman. And I think also I realized how much sleep I actually need. One of my things was I enjoyed staying up late with friends and meeting new people in our common areas when COVID wasn't a thing. We got to hang out in person a lot. And realizing that going to bed at 3 a.m. and waking up for 8 a.m. classes is not it. But it's still kind of fun at times. But it's really just learning how to adult and take care of yourself and manage your money and your time and your homework, as Nick said. So.
Excellent. Anyone? Brody?
Yeah, I think, what Emily was saying just made me think too. I think one of the big changes for me, the thing I had to get used to was, school and home are the same place. So no longer do you go to school and then you're go home and there's really not very many distractions and you can just sit down and do your homework. It's like your family's just sitting around and you're like, oh, okay, I got to do homework, guys, be quiet. It's not like that anymore. It's like there's always something fun happening. You're living for me, it's like I'm living on a floor of guys and they're all really good friends of mine. And I always want to just go out and talk to them and have fun and watch a movie. And so the challenge becomes, like Emily was saying, when do I go to bed? How do I manage my time so I actually get my homework done and I'm not just messing around and having fun with and indulging in every single distraction. Sometimes you have to learn how to close your door and try to tune out the noise and get some homework done, maybe go to the library or something like that. And then also they were Nick and Emily were saying is a little bit of adulting happening where, I have to go get my groceries and I have to do my laundry. What? And it all costs money. What? So yeah, budgeting and stuff like that. So But I think the main thing for me was honestly that combination where like school and home, it was no longer like, oh, I'm here for a while and then now I get to go home and like this is like my other space. It's like it all just gets whoosh, thrown together, and you have to learn how to kind of create your own time and how you're going to spend that time.
Absolutely. Claire.
I just wanted to input a little bit to the effect of like a student athlete or any student coming straight into college with a commitment to either an organization, club, sport. Like that is your job. Yes, being a student is a job in itself. But when you have and make that commitment to be an athlete or to be on a worship band or a club or a team or something like that, you time management is everything. And I wouldn't say normal, but an average college student's free time is going to be your practice time and your weightlifting time. And so when you're done with that, it's strictly homework, got to eat, got to do the laundry. You don't have as much time for goofing off and getting into trouble. But I think that's helped me stay more focused because I don't have, necessarily that extra free time to just, binge watch on Netflix or go hang out with some friends off campus, on campus, whatever's going on. And so I think that's kind of grounded me. And I like to say that to any other students out there looking to be recruited to any college, that it is a commitment and you have to be dedicated to that. And it's going to take some self-discipline, but it's really worth it.
So Claire, do you work while you're out of season, or do you work and in season and class? Because that's 3 full-time jobs, right? Do you have all 3 at once, or do you kind of do the in sports and then out of sports I do a job? Can you?
Oh, I do. I did commit to all 3 during the same time. So last year as a freshman, I was offered the position that I have now as a student counselor. And at that time, being a freshman, I was going into my 2nd semester. I said, I feel a little bit overwhelmed. I don't want to commit to something that I cannot fulfill. I want to, see how this is going to go. I had biology, and I'm a graphic communications major, and that took up too much time for me personally. But I think that at that point I wasn't ready, and then COVID hit, of course, and so over the summer I was offered the position again, and I got out my calendar and I said, okay, this is practice times, these are games. Logically, how do my classes fit in with when I can work? And so I committed to this job and position I have now on top of volleyball and school. And but that was not a light decision that I made. I really prayed hard about it, and I thought, could I do this? Could I not do this? But yeah, I do. And so in the fall and now I have a little bit more free time now, even though we're going to be starting up here a little bit again because of COVID. But in the fall I would go to class and work, or periodically throughout the day, whatever my schedule was like. Practice was always at 4 to 6, and so after that I'd go eat dinner, go back to my apartment, shower, get changed, and then do homework. And that was all that I did. And it's a little bit difficult managing my hours for work. If we had an away game, we had to drive 5 hours to another state to play a game, or for a weekend. I could be gone for several days. I could be gone for just one day. And so it was a lot to take in and to think about. But I'm very glad I did, because as I said, like the more you take on, the more focused I became. And so I literally don't have much time to do anything else, but I'm grounded in that sense because I know I'm going to get the things I need to be done. And I know what I'm doing is important. And I almost kind of feel fulfilled in a way, like I'm not wasting my time. I'm not, goofing off. I'm trying to be structured and do each of my jobs to the best of my ability. And so it's a big step, especially for student athletes. And if you are going to be a student athlete at a higher level, that requires much more discipline, because not only are you practicing and working out, you might be doing that 3 times a day. You might have required different times for watching film, additional stuff like that. So it's definitely a lot to take in, a lot to think about, but I think it's definitely worth it. I've enjoyed it so far.
Excellent. Quick question for you and Annika, who are both student athletes. Do you feel your coaches understand and emphasize your academics over your athletics? Not that you could skip a game or a practice, I'm not saying that, but I was told once, and I have no way to confirm, I guess, but especially the D1 and the major schools, right? That those coaches, expect athletics to come first, right? I was just curious if you, because I feel like that's an advantage of smaller schools, that they are going to put academics first, and that is why you're there, right? I mean, you are ultimately at your schools for a degree. The sports are a great way to fill the time, make friends, stay healthy, stay active, stay involved, make connections, travel. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of advantages, whether it's theater or extracurricular or even some club sports and so forth. But do you guys feel that to be a true statement?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know about Claire, but I feel like at Cairn University, we're in like the sweet spot. We are D3 and in Christian college D3. And so we kind of we're like able to have our focus be entirely on using the gifts that you have to glorify God and to be there for your team. And that's your focus. And like, just knowing that is really cool. And our coaches are constantly saying like, you're student athletes, like, the school comes first. And like, that's apparent in the way that they run teams and stuff. But at the same time, I think that we perform better. Like, we do really well in sports. We're usually at the top of our division, in the top of our conference in all of our sports. Our men's cross country team has an amazing record. Our soccer teams have great records, basketball. And it's all just because I think the focus is not on the individual and putting a lot of pressure on yourself. It's just being the best that you can be so that you are a reflection of the love of God and everything that you're doing. And that rubs off on the teams that you interact with. Because our conference is actually mainly non-Christian schools. So we're establishing that kind of a reputation where it's like, we have really good sportsmanship. Like, we're really kind to everybody else and we're really good. So that's just a really cool, like, sweet spot to be in, because like, we are D3, so it's not all about like raking in a lot of money, like having a lot of sports fans be there. And it's like, the people that are there do care about it enough that it is something that's still very enjoyable and beneficial to your experience. But yeah, I definitely feel like, especially with cross country, which is pretty flexible, because you don't necessarily need other people with you. It's just better that way. So you can kind of like make up the practices that you need to miss for various reasons. And as long as you're there for your team when it counts, they understand. So
excellent. Well, it sounds like you guys juggle an awful lot all at the same time. Does anybody have a secret tool of keeping organized? I mean, do you guys have like, is everything on your phone? Do you have paper planners? Do you have a big bulletin board in your room? Yeah. So what's your little secrets? Let's let the high schoolers in on that. Emily, what do you use?
So my secret is color coordinating. That really keeps it organized. I use Google Calendar. That's what I found to work. I've tried planners, but I lose them. But color coordinating, like admissions work is this color, and my spiritual life job on campus is this color, and class is this color. And also getting alerts like every 30 minutes of when the next thing starts helps me going, because that will be like, okay, I need to grab a snack in between this break, and I need to prep for this class because I have a test. And so that's one way that I found really helps me. It took a little bit of time though to find that that's what helped the best. And then I also have a monthly calendar in my room at my apartment that just tells me like the big things I've got to keep track of. So yeah, kind of, I did a lot of trial and error. I lost quite a few planners and calendars, and that was kind of embarrassing, but yeah, color coordinating is my thing. And
Claire, I saw you have a paper, that's your lifeline there. It's a manual.
Yeah, this is a planner. It's one that has the months and the individual days of the week, and I I really, I have to write everything down that I have or I'll forget it. And so I just kind of take that with me everywhere. And like Emily, I have one, a bigger one in my room that I write the big things and important things on. But definitely setting reminders on my phone, that's important to me is too, especially stuff that I might forget. But I just wanted to stress the importance too for incoming freshmen, the syllabus that you get in the like first few days of class, that is so important because it will have all of the assignments and tests and quizzes on it. And I learned the hard way not to really in-depthly look my freshman year. And so you don't want to walk into class one day and have a quiz and you know nothing about what the quiz is on. And so that's very important. And so staying on top of your work and assignments is crucial, especially if you want to maintain good grades. And because those things will slip up on you if you've had a busy day, if you've had a lot of assignments due, it'll kind of slip up, especially since you get into these states where it's like 1 week I will barely have any work to do, and the next it's all quizzes and tests, and it's kind of like that ever flowing cycle that just comes up, and so it can get very hectic. So staying organized and having good time management is always key.
Absolutely. So, oh yeah, go ahead, Brody.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, just kind of what Claire was talking about a little bit is like, just get in the habit of checking that syllabus. And in whatever way that is, like for me, a lot of times, a lot of my professors, it's like a digital syllabus and they just have like a PDF or a document. So if you like have like a little folder on your computer or something with all of them in there, you have quick access. They're all in the same place. That's really, really helpful to just click on that, check through, like check that like weekly, or, sometimes you need to check it daily. Usually my professors have a certain way of doing classing. I pretty much know what's going on. And they're good about telling me, but also, yeah, like Claire said, sometimes things sneak up on you and you get there and it's quiz day and you're like, didn't look at my syllabus. And it's a freak out moment. So you don't want that. So check the syllabus often. And the other thing I do, I'll show you this, is I have this little card that just has like the days of the week. And this is just my long-term weekly schedule. And eventually I sort of have it memorized, but it makes me feel better to have it sitting there and be able to like look up and not have to rely on my memory all the time and know like, okay, each day on my schedule, like this is where I need to be at least. And then always just check the syllabus for homework.
Excellent. Annika?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the strategies that people are saying are really good, but just for anybody that's not a paper person, I have one word for you, and it is routines. Like get in the habit of going to bed pretty much the same time every night so that you're waking up the same time every morning. Even if you have like an 8 a.m. every other day and then like a 10 o'clock in between, like make it 8 a.m. every day so that you're being super consistent and you can keep everything straight in your memory. And then like delegate times like for that workout. Don't just be like, okay, whenever I've got time, I'll squish in that workout. Or I'll go and read this book, or I'll hang out with this friend. Like make sure that you're being really intentional. And yeah, that you're setting up routines, because you're just going to set yourself up for success if you don't have to feel like you're going out of the way to do something that you need to do. Like it's already part of your day, so you don't have to stress like, is this my best use of time? It's already in like your mental schedule. So practice routines.
Excellent. So I want to, whoever wants to answer, and maybe you all want to weigh in on this, but I think one of the other misconceptions out there is that Christian colleges maybe aren't as fun as maybe a large public institution. So who wants to talk about how much fun they're having, or what, what you're not missing out on, however you want to address that? Oh, everyone wants to talk. Excellent. Let's start with you, Brody.
All right. Yeah, I think we have a ton of fun. The first thing is like, if make friends on your floor. You'll make so many. And then for us, at least here at Huntington, we have stuff going on like almost every weekend, some fun event, whether that's like just for the floor, where you get to hang out with your friends there, or it's the entire hall, or like we have like bro sis like stuff. So or the entire university. One of my favorite things that I always brag about with Huntington is every year we have Olympiad, which is like our version of the Olympics, I guess, but full of ridiculous games. I mean, we have synchronized swimming and like just crazy things like that. So it's a ton of fun, and everybody gets behind it, and they're all in for like a week, and people are like practicing at the Y for this synchronized swimming at like 4 a.m. in the morning. It's ridiculous. People love it. So we know how to have fun. We definitely do. And I don't think, at least, from talking to people, and I had friends who decided not to go to like a Christian college and like went for a different experience. And I know one in particular who ended up, he didn't want to finish there, and he switched and he went to a college that was a Christian university, because he thought he could handle the atmosphere, and then he didn't like it. He wasn't a fan of it. And I honestly don't think, personally as a Christian, that we're really missing out on much of anything. I think it's possible to have fun without substances, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is. We can still have parties, and I can vouch for the fact that we still have a lot of fun, and there's a lot of laughs and a lot of good times and memories. And you can still do quote unquote crazy things without getting into a bunch of trouble, and still have a lot of fun. So
Annika, did you want to go in next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I second the kind of like the craziness that you can still do, obviously, without it being anything that's long-term problematic. Something that's fresh in my mind, at the end of every semester, we have 10th hour breakfast. So actually all of our faculty and staff will serve the students breakfast foods like pancakes, sausage, eggs, and stuff at 10 o'clock at night. So we'll all like pile into the cafeteria, get served breakfast by our professors. And it's great because you're already up super late studying. And we always sing the 12 Days of Christmas. It's tradition. In the spring, we sing up the 12 Days of Karen. So it's just kind of like a parody version. But and then we actually also, this is going to sound taboo at first, but we have 3 different dances that we do on campus. We have the hoedown. So that's all like square dancing, country line dancing. We have the garden party, which our president's house is actually on our campus. And so he puts up a bunch of lights, and we just kind of have like a really kind of like swing sort of themed garden party. And then there's a gala at the end of every spring as well. So just kind of hearing from my parents that like Christian college had to be like, no cards, no dancing, like no nothing. It was really, really nice to actually be able to do things that were like, just like what other colleges were doing, that were fun and like beautiful and true, but we didn't have to sacrifice like what we believed in to actually be a part of those things and to make those lasting memories.
Excellent. Nick, did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, definitely. And I can agree with Brody in that, like, if you're living on campus in college, like, you need to make friends with the other people in your res hall, because those are easily where my freshman year, where I made the best memories, and even up to this day. And again, yeah, like, you can do crazy stuff and without doing the typical party scene. And like, we used to love pranking our residence assistant, our RA, and we'd like take his mattress and like surf down the stairs on it and do a bunch of crazy stuff, and it's all fun and games, and it's mostly safe too. But yeah, you gotta find ways with your friends just to have fun and enjoy the time that you have. And yeah, there's campus events too. Like, we play a huge game here called HVZ, or Humans vs. Zombies, where it's basically a huge game of tag where the humans have Nerf guns and the zombies try to tag the humans. And it's a week-long game, and it's like huge here. It's one of our main selling points here at Jessup. And yeah, there's just a ton of fun to be had still at Christian college. It's really, and in my opinion, it's just better fun, so.
Claire, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot about what there is to do at a college kind of weighs in a little bit of where it is located. I come from the outskirts of a big city, and here in Bluefield, we're in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's beautiful, but it's a little bit smaller town than I'm used to. But I have taken up different things that I never thought I would like hiking. And with all this recent snow, there's this big hill beside one of our male dormitories, and a lot of students, if not of the whole campus, has taken part in sledding down the hill, because we do have something similar to the Olympic things that Brody was talking about, and so we have like Mud Pig Day in the spring, and so before the finals week for the fall and the spring, we have kind of like a day to relax and enjoy ourselves. And in the spring, they have Mud Pig Day. So they roast a pig, fire department comes, we put this big old turf down the hill, slide down that. They have a mud pit, just lots of fun for our students. And this year has kind of been challenging, for people to think of, what can I do for fun because of COVID? Because there are rules in place. We don't want people to contract COVID and spread it amongst our, small colleges, universities, because that could very easily happen, especially since a lot of us are, face to face. And so we have been cautious about that, but I think it's brought out some really creative ideas for our residents teams, virtual movies, virtual games, just stuff like that really kind of, make light of the situation. But I will say with a small college, there's a lot of different stigmas about Christian colleges and what denomination they're affiliated with. And so Bluefield College is a Baptist college. I'm a Lutheran. Those two denominations have two different stigmas about them. And people say all kinds of stuff, but I have found that it's nothing really different than what I'm used to. And I've really enjoyed going to the worship or chapel every Wednesday. They have a worship praise band. I'm not used to that. I'm traditional sermons, hymns, and I've got to experience some really awesome people just being able to worship and have an environment where, that's okay, that's normal, that's encouraged is really awesome. Because, the bigger universities, you think party schools, you think you have to do this, you have to do that. And that's not the case for those schools. And that's not the case for small colleges and universities. You can really find your people at a small Christian college, I think. Ones that have the same value and morals that you do. And so I think that's really easier to not kind of give in to any peer pressure you may come up upon, and just kind of, if you want to have a Bible study, there's going to be a lot of people who also want to have a Bible study with you. And that's what we did last year. So it's just different ways to make friends and to kind of dive deeper in your faith and just kind of discover who you are and your purpose here. I think it's really awesome to do that within a Christian college setting.
Well, we are concluding our hour here. So I'm going to ask anybody who's still alive, if they have any questions, now would be the time to use the chat or the Q&A feature to ask it. And while we wait to see if anything pops in here, anything that any of you want to say, again, knowing that we have high school students and maybe their parents listening in tonight or watching at a future date, is there anything that you wish I would have asked, or that you just want to share, or any words of advice, or any last plug about what's great about your school? I mean, this is completely open-ended at this point, so feel free we'll just go around and whoever wants to jump in, and let's just see what you've got that maybe that I forgot to ask, or you just want to share.
I just kind of want to talk about roommates really quick. Just cause I've just kind of been with friends, just heard about a lot of different types of situations that can arise. And my biggest piece of advice is just be considerate and communicate right off the bat, because kind of like what Brody and Nick and a bunch of people have already said, these are your immediate chances at having really cool friendships and relationships right off the bat. So just make sure that if something is bothering you a little bit at the beginning, or you think that something might be bothering them, just come right out about it and be as polite as you can and as considerate as you can, and just be always communicating. because I have found that when you guys are actively looking for ways to be considerate of one another, whether you have one roommate or 3 suite mates, then it just is going to show that you're loving them and that you're trying to be a loving person that they can share an existence with, share space with. And I actually have been with my roommate for all 4 years of college. So it's been very effective, and I've helped friends through situations just by saying like, hey, let's just make sure that we're communicating and we're being considerate, and that we're always remembering that this is another person who is also away from their home and their family and in a situation that's unfamiliar at times. So that's my roommate advice, because that is probably a really good chance at a friendship. And not always, but it can at least be a good relationship for the necessary time.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Brody, what did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of that just a little bit, because I think at least it seems like for incoming college students, I talk to a lot of kids in admissions and stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of worry about like the roommate situation. People are like, somebody I've never met is going to now be the person I live with. Like, and not just that, but there's going to be a whole floor of people I've never met before. And I think that can be like scary and intimidating to think about. But I guess my encouragement is, it's amazing, especially I think you'll especially find this at a Christian university, the welcoming nature of the people who are there, and how much they want to bring you into the fold. And also the university wants you to be with a roommate that like you'll be successful with. They're not trying to find like, that roommate that you're like have nightmares about or something, that's never the goal for anyone. It's not good for anyone involved. So at least my school here at Huntington, we take surveys and tests and quizzes, and that helps us be placed with people who are like us and similar to us. And that includes things that are even like bedtime and how I like to do my homework and stuff like that. So, and also don't be afraid if you go to like registration. I know it's a little different with COVID. Maybe some of that won't be in person and stuff. But I met my roommate at registration, and we decided we wanted to room together. We weren't assigned each other. And we just said, hey, we get along really well. This would be great. And we've already met each other, so let's just do it. And we've been rooming together ever since. And he's probably my best friend on campus. So just as an encouragement. And also at HU, we have, I'm a CMC this year. We have CMC and an RA on every floor. And part of our responsibility is to help you get used to living in a brand new place with brand new people. We invite the new people to everything that's happening. It's not one of those things where it's like, let's see what the kid has before we let him into the group. It's an immediate like, hey, like we're going to get dinner. You want to come with us? Hey, this is going on. You're going to know what's going on when it is, and be intentional about if you want to be close to everyone and get to know people quickly, participate. When like people come and invite you to stuff, just be like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. Let's go. And that helps people. I know the freshmen on our floor this year became integrated so quickly. It feels like they've been here the whole time, so yeah, that's, I guess, just a little bit of an encouragement that you don't have to stress probably as much as you are about that roommate situation and living in a new place. Everybody wants you to succeed.
Absolutely. I think that's worth noting in general, right? Your professors want you to succeed. Your RA wants you to get along with your roommate. No one is setting you up for failure. Everybody is in this. And I think you have to figure out who to ask for help and when and how and all that. But yeah, no one, your parents want you to succeed. It's at all levels. So no one is expecting failure in this. And you really do have to put in some effort though, right? To go to class and be considerate and work through that. I did have a question pop up here. Were any of you homeschooled, or those of you who work in admissions and work with homeschooled students? Do you have any advice for a homeschooler coming into for the first time a public school environment? Claire?
One of my teammates was homeschooled in high school, and she's a transfer now. So she went to a Christian college in Texas, and what I've gotten from her, just based off how she acts and stuff, I think the best thing to do would, like everyone's been saying, just try to be a part of things, started off on the right track and be friends with your roommates, suite mates, be girls on your floor. That's such an easy way to make friends. And you have to remember, just like going to any new school, everyone's in the same boat. No one really knows anyone else there. So everything's new and different. And some people, we're all scared, when you're going into your freshman year. So you're not alone if you're worried or concerned. And if, like and my teammates and my friends kind of walked around campus a bit, before school was in session, to know where your classes are, know where everything is, just kind of get comfortable and situated on your campus. And I think social media is an awesome way to get connected too. I know the freshmen on our volleyball team, they all knew each other prior to arriving because they had reached out, followed each other on Instagram, added each other on Snapchat, and started talking. And so I think that is also a really good way to meet people, is seeing, who's going to my school, who you could potentially be, roommate, that kind of stuff. And so everyone's in the same boat. And I think the more you say like yes to new adventures and opportunities, I think that would work out better, because you meet so many people and be open to new people, because even though we are Christian college, there's people who may not always be Christian or come from a different country, and so their culture and religion might be different than yours. And so I think just being open and welcoming them would be the best thing that I could say.
Okay. Anybody else want to do some parting words? I do want to be sensitive to you guys' time. I did try to keep this to an hour, and here we are already past that. So Emily?
Yeah, super quick. Hopefully, I think all of us have kind of said this in one way or another, but maybe not said it flat out. Find a college that fits you. Find a place where you can see yourself planning routes and making connections and starting your life there. That's something that with Multnomah, I really wrestled with, as I found a college that fit me, as I found a place that had the specific degree that I wanted, and had the extracurriculars that I wanted to get involved in, and had a community that was small enough yet big enough that I could know quite a few people. So finding a place where you can really see yourself growing and investing in people and relationships, and also your career and education. So maybe that helps with the homeschooling question too, of find a place that fits you and your interests and gives you opportunities to grow in community and in your education as well. And for those of us who are public or private school too, for high school.
Excellent. Any other final words, thoughts? Okay, well, thank you guys so much for your time tonight and all the advice you've given. Like I said, I have a feeling this will be one of our highly viewed recorded sessions after the fact, which is always nice, because that means we're going to be able to reach a lot more students as they talk about with their parents, and as they start to narrow down their choices. And certainly that will depend on what year in high school they are, but I think you guys had all provided very, very insightful information, and it's great to see what God is doing in your lives, and the path that he has taken you guys. And clearly you are living life to its fullest and taking advantage of all that your colleges have to offer. And it's really great to see that. So thank you again so much for you guys' time.